What's good, Visionary? Welcome back to the channel. I'm glad to see you guys today. Today, we'll be talking about buying land in Liberia. Now, this has to be the legitimate way. We all know all the stories about buying land and people are afraid to do it. In this video, though, we're talking about buying land whilst in abroad. Number one question I get all the time, how can I buy land? Do I have to be a Liberian, foreigner? How can I do it safely? I don't want to be scammed. Well, this is the video we'll be talking about all of that. Now, if you're new here, every now and then new people stumble onto the channel. If you're new, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Like the video, also share it. If this information is important to you, or if you feel like you want other people to hear it, just share it. Share it on your social media, and that'll be greatly appreciated. Now, if you are a long-time visionary, as you guys know, or Liberia to the World subscriber, I want to say thank you so much for sticking through. More videos are dropping. You guys are seeing it. I mentioned it and it's coming. So let's get into today's video, all right? Let's talk about today's sponsor, which is Vision Estate. Now, Vision Estate is bringing affordable luxury homes to Liberia and the Monrovia area. I mentioned to you guys before, I'm going to bring more information. I have some emails from you guys. I will get to that. I'm just gathering everything I need that I think you guys would need when you ask those questions. So that's coming. But send more emails if you have questions about it. I'm talking to people on the back end. I'm calling people. People are reaching out directly. I'll go into details on that. But for now, let's jump into today's video. I'll talk about 8 or 9 steps. Let's say about 10 steps on buying land safely in Liberia. And now this is focused on those of you guys who live abroad, United States, United Kingdom, Japan, Saudi Arabia, everywhere, right? So we'll talk about it, the steps. And now it's important that you follow these steps in order to ensure your land that you're buying you're doing it legitimately. You're not going to get scammed, and you're not going to be running behind people in courts here and there. So let's jump right into today's video. Now, the first point we want to talk about is location. Obviously, if you're buying land, you need to find where you're going to buy the land. That's the first thing. I made a live, I think last week, talking about places to be very worried about if you're buying land, such as Marshall. Whilst we're in Liberia, we interviewed a few lawyers who went to the court system. We went to lands and mines, and we just asked questions, right? So the number one area that has the most land cases is in Marshall area. I even have a friend who is very close to me that we hang out with in Liberia all the time, bought land in Liberia. I think about 4 acres of land. He and his mom spent $8,000 to buy that piece of land in Marshall area. Right now, he's in court back and forth every day trying to get the land. Now, the land was resold. Obviously, you guys know it was sold multiple times, and he was the third person. So now when he bought the land, when he came back to see the land, the first owner had already put cornerstone on the land. So it's a long thing, right? So my number one recommendation, I've said this before, is Monrovia. Monrovia is, I think, the second largest district in Liberia, next to Monrovia. So people are migrating to that side, right? 2 or 3 times we visited Monrovia area, you see development going on everywhere. I mean, the land is being bought like hotcakes in that area. People are bringing businesses there. People are building a state. Number one is location. After you found your location based on the things I just said, meaning find a low-risk area that's developing, right? Ask around. Ask about other development that's going in the area. Ask the person who is selling you that land how much land they've sold to people in the area. Now, here's one key question, right? Let me give you this nice little tip. Ask the person you're buying the land from, what's the largest plot of land or acres that they've sold to somebody, right? Example, where we bought land, the guy in that area, 4 or 6 people bought 5 to 10 acres at a time. What does that mean? That means there's something big coming in the area, right? If most of the land the guy or the landowner is selling is just, a lot, 2 lot, 1 lot, that's going to be a lot of smaller homes. But also if somebody's buying 1 acre, 2 acre, they're probably thinking about building like a school, a hospital, some kind of business, manufacturing, things like that. So that's one key thing to know also. Just ask around to see who owns the largest plot of land, and probably just ask, what do you think that person might do about it? Because people talk, right? So that's one key thing to know what's coming in your area. If you find your land Now, step number 2 is to vet the person who is selling you the land or the agency. Now, there are people selling land all over, right? You just have to vet. You have to ask around. You have to ask them how many people they've sold land to. Maybe they can give you a reference. Hey, have you sold land to such and such? I mean, some of this information is private, but I mean, just ask, right? Maybe you might find 1 or 2 people who've bought land from that person. Better yet, it's always great if that person comes as a recommendation. So I would suggest you ask people if they've bought land in that area. People will say, yes, I have bought land. Then you ask them, who did you buy it from and how was that process? Easy way to vet people, because people are not going to lie. If they bought land from somebody in Broville and it was not a good transition or a transaction, as you say, they'll tell you. When people spend their money and they don't get their money's worth, they'll tell the world. They will tell everybody. So that's one great way. They're not going to lie to you and be like, oh, he was great, whilst they screw them over, right? So ask 1 or 2. If you have maybe 2, 3 people recommending the same person, you know for sure that, well, at least most, 80% that you're going to have a good transaction, right? So that's one great way. This step number 2 is to find the person who's going to sell you land. If it's a family member, here's what I would say. If it's a family member, it shouldn't be a family member who hasn't done something for you before, right? Meaning one of your uncle who really hasn't done any task for you, who you haven't sent money to do something for you before, and they just randomly say, hey, I know I can get you this land, or I know somebody in this, and you go through them. If you're going to go through a family member, go through a family member who you've been using for other things for a while, right? Maybe they've helped you build this, they've helped you establish this, or got this and this and this, and you've sent money to them, and now you trust them. So I would say family members should be a last option, except if they've done something for you significant in the past and it went well. But also what I mentioned, find a person and vet the person, ask people who've bought land and see who they've bought it from. And then you can use that person. So that's step number 2. Find and vet the person who is going to sell you the land. Now, the third step that I would say also is start looking for a lawyer. Now, I know I didn't think I would need a lawyer in Liberia, but if you've been to Liberia more than one time, and most of you guys watching this video or even clicked on this video is you guys are interested in buying land and you really want to see how you can do it and the best way you can do it, right? So get a lawyer. Now, if you're buying a lot for like maybe $1,000, $1,500, 2 lots and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, you can do it on your own without a lawyer. If something happened, you lost $1,000, $1,500, it's fine. If it's not fine, but that's, it's not so bad as if you're buying like my friend who spent $8,000 to buy a land. Now that $8,000, you could have spent $400, $300, $500, $600, $700 on a lawyer. Now I do have a plug though. So if you need a lawyer, hit me up. She's amazing. I've worked with her before. I have her information. I can reach out directly to her. I can give you guys her information. So let me know in the comment section or send us an email, or you can DM us on Instagram, Liberia to the world. You guys know I'll post it right on the bottom of the video as well. So get a lawyer, spend that money, right? It's going to run you anywhere between, let's say, $300 to $600, depending on the law firm, and also the reputation that the law firm has. In Liberia, people love names, right? So you want to get a law firm that has a name that people know and people respect. So not just somebody who just say, hey, I'm a lawyer, or it's not doing that so well, right? So get a lawyer. Now, like I mentioned before, if you're buying multiple lots or multiple acres whilst you're in abroad, get a lawyer that you can communicate with. Obviously, most of these lawyers have smartphones. You have WhatsApp with them. You call them, you talk to them, and things like that. So go ahead and vet your lawyers, ask around, interview a couple lawyers, and find a good one. So that's step number 3. Get you a lawyer. Again, if you're buying bigger plots of land or acres of land. So again, these are all the steps you need. I want you to take so you don't have to make that trip to Liberia, right? To go through all of that. You can do it from wherever you're at. That's step number 3. Now, the 4th step basically will be to have somebody. Now, this is like a nuance, a little step. It doesn't necessarily have to be the 4th. It can be the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd. It don't matter. But get somebody to be on the ground, meaning other than the person you're buying the land from or using to go through to buy the land, have somebody else go to the area and ask about who owned that land. Now, people who live in a community mostly knows who owns the land in the area. People see, people talk. Now, they will tell you, look, Mr. Flomo came here yesterday and showed this land to somebody else. I think he sold the land to this person, right? Or they would be like, hey, Mr. Flumwood, the guy who brought you here, he's not the one who actually owned the land. That's his mom. So because people talk. So I'll say go in that community, send somebody else there to ask around in that area. Ask people, hey, do you know who owned this land? Can you tell me a little bit more about it and stuff like that? Be cordial, be friendly, make friends in the area, right? So that's another key step. It's just a little thing, just to make sure you avoid being scammed. So that's one right there. The next step, number 5, will be to see updated registration. Now, the registration for landowners in Liberia, they have to register the land, I think, every 2 years, and it has to be updated. Now, if you make the mistake of buying land from somebody and you didn't see that registration, or if it was expired, your transaction is not valid. You go to court, whatever it is, they will tell you, hey, the registration was not in effect. So ultimately, your transaction with that person, even if you have receipt and all of that, it's not valid. You really don't have a case. It's you guys are going to talk it out, right? You don't have a case on them to bring them to court. So that's one key step. Now, you have to, these things you wouldn't know unless you do it, right? We have to go through this land buying process to know all of these things. So after you've done all these steps, now you're down to step 5, right? You found a location, you vetted a person who is helping you to buy the land. You've already gotten a lawyer, right? You've already had men on ground. The 4th step of asking around and making sure the land is with a rightful owner, right? Now you're on step 5 where you're seeing the registration. So now you call the person who owns the land and say, hey, can I see the registration of this land? And things like that, right? Make sure if you're in abroad, like I said, the person has to have WhatsApp. So they send you a picture of the registration. And then here's where step number 3 is going to come in play. When they send you that picture, now you send it to your lawyer. What your lawyer can do is verify that document, right? So that's why I put lawyer at the 3rd option above most of these other things I'm about to say, because ultimately all of these things will be referencing back to your lawyer. So send that registration to your lawyer. Your lawyer is going to check that and make sure it's valid. And they check with the lands in mind, make sure the person name on there is the person selling you the land, or at least that person is involved in the sale of that land. After that, the next step, number 6, is now to ask again. Now, these are all the things you're doing before you even put money down on this land you're trying to buy, right? You ask for the mother deed. Now, the mother deed basically is a deed. It's a document that shows that, hey, I own all of these and I've sold parts of it to other people, but I have the main deed that governs or oversee all of this collection of land. That's what the mother deed is, right? Because the mother deed will show who owns all of these lands. The regular deed just show who own each plot of land or each half plot or whatever it is, specific area. The mother deed shows that the person who is in charge of all of the multiple acres of plots of land, right? So you see that. Again, after they send you the mother deed, you check it, make sure that person who is selling, their name is on there. What do you do again? Send it back to your lawyer. Again, that's why the lawyer is key. Send it to a lawyer. What a lawyer is going to do is look at that document. Your lawyer is actually going to go himself or herself to Lands in Mind. Or most of the time, though, they have people that works there. So, Liberia, if you when you're big shot, you get connections, right? So they either go there, which our lawyer did, or they'll make that phone call down to Lands in Mind directly to have someone check what we call an archive. Now, an archive, just like it sounds like, it's an area that has physical document of who owned what land in Liberia. The land on that deed has to match the land on the archive, right? That's the person you want to deal with. That's what this is the key thing. What happens in Liberia is family own a lot of lands. Some family own acres of land in a lot of areas, a lot, right? And what they are doing is each family member is selling land, right? Like my dad owned a land, 50 acre. I'm selling, my brother is selling, my sister is selling. Everybody wants money, right? So people are selling. So if the communication between those people is not right, I can sell you. That's what happens, right? I'll sell you land, but I didn't tell my brother, or I haven't talked to my brother yet that I've already show you and sell you this land. My brother now has his own client. He's bringing them to that same land, sell that land, right? So, however, if let's say my dad who owned the land, let's say my dad is still alive, my dad's name will actually be the one on the archive in the Lands in Mind building. but we, the family member, are just selling the land, right? Because my dad will finally have to sign off. So you want to make sure whoever is selling the land is involved in that process. Their name is on the archive at the Lands in Mines before you give money to anybody. Because it could be just a family member selling you that land, and the main owner of the land in that family probably doesn't know. Or will tell you, look, I didn't want to sell this land. My son or my cousin, my brother sold it to you. Well, I've already made plans to sell it to somebody else. That's when all this back and forth. So you check to make sure that person's name is in the archive. Your lawyer will do that. Your lawyer will call or go themselves and check that, right? And verify all of that is good. Now that's point number 6. Point number 7 is to send the documents to your lawyer, but I've already mentioned that. So point number 7, just to reiterate and to reconfirm that you send all those documents to your lawyer and make sure your lawyer verifies this. Now, the 8th point then obviously is buying the land, the buying process. Just make sure who you're buying the land from has, let's say, a record of land that you've sold before. Also, your lawyer can check the court system to see if that person's name is in any open or pending cases. Key thing as well, because your lawyer can tell you, look, I have 4 open cases, land dispute cases with this person's name, with that landowner. So you know that, oh, okay, this guy has issues, right? He's in a court system. He's either been sued before or he's have open cases now about selling land to somebody having a dispute. That's one way. That's one key red flag or way to deter you from, transacting with that person. So again, now number 8 is buying the land. And again, if you're in the US or Europe, Asia, wherever you are, now you've gone through all of these steps with the help of a lawyer or a trusted family person who you've done business with before many times, and everything checks out, then now you send the money to buy the land. Here's one thing I'll say. We're in digital age. We all have smartphones, everybody, right? Even during that process, I told my guy I was buying the land from, look, I know it may not be comfortable, but we just need to document everything, right? When we're buying this land, we're signing this document. I'm going to have my guy here just video recording us. I tell him to, I'm a YouTuber as well. I need all of this to educate people. But also, I just need it for my record. I need us, all of us here on this video, signing these documents and me handing you this money. So do that. Don't be uncomfortable. Tell them. They're selling they want to sell you the land. So, okay, they will do it. And if they don't have anything to hide, why not? Right? So you have a video recording of that. So again, for you in the U.S., or Europe, wherever you are, now you have that video record of them making that transaction. You can do the video of the receipt that they gave you and all of that, and you make that transaction. And you can send all of the document to your lawyer for safekeeping, and you get a copy as well, right? Now, after that, you still got one more step to do. Now, when I bought my land the first time in Liberia, I didn't know that step. I bought the land, I got the receipt, I got all of that, I'm good. Well, you're not. Now you have to go through probation, like a probate, right? You have to probate the land. The probate process basically then just secures you now in those archives to make sure everything checks out. Now your name is in the information that when somebody see who owns the land, now they can check that, right? That's the reason why you're able to verify in the archive from your lawyer that this person who you're buying the land from owned the land, because they did their probate and all of that, and their information is in there. So that's the last step. Make sure you get that done and make sure everything checks out. The deed will have the exact measurement of your land and all of that. And the probate will make sure that's the last process. So that's how you do it, guys. That's how you buy land legally, safely in Liberia and not get a scam. Now, lastly, this is not part of it, but this is what I'll just tell you from experience. What people are doing now is the survey. There's 2 things to watch out for and not being scammed. If you're buying land from somebody and they suggest or highly recommend or demand that they bring their own surveyor, be worried of that. If you can, get a surveyor directly from Lands in Mines, or your lawyer can help you with that process, because that's where people are getting scammed. Now, people are just acting like a surveyor. They're not licensed. They don't have document. Even for us, on the video, I did a video of me checking the guy's ID to make sure everything checks out. And I even did a video of it. Everybody I did transaction with in Liberia, they're on video with me when I was doing that transaction. And all that information is with my lawyer as well, just to be safe, right? Because a lot of money was spent on securing all of these lands and the project we're working on. So we want to make sure we're on the safe side. So that's one thing I'll tell you, just to make sure, if they're suggesting that they have to bring their own surveyor, be worried about that. You can find your own, because some of these guys are scam. Last thing to be worried about is when the surveyor come on the land and the survey your land, typically they will measure more acres or more lot than you want. And when they're done with the process, they'll come and tell you, look, we measure everything, but there was a little mistake here. The rope went a little further. So actually you're getting, instead of one lot, you're getting 1.5 lot. But yes, what we'll do. They'll tell you, yes, what we'll do. We don't have to go back to the landowner. We don't have to do all of that. So just pay all the little difference and we'll add it on your deed and nobody knows about it. Oh, how can you add land on somebody's thing that you don't own? You're not the owner of this land. So what gave you the right to add more land on my deed? At the end of the day, the owner we're buying from, we're signing for 5 acres. If it's 6.5, he's like, I didn't sell you 6.5. You guys paid for 5. So why am I seeing 6.5? That's where it should come from. So always decline that and be worried of that and know that happens. So there it is, guys. Let me know in the comment section if you've bought land, your process, if you've gone through any court cases, or if somebody tried to scam you. Any of those, just let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video. When you like the video, what happens is YouTube is like, okay, people like the video. So YouTube starts to share the video a lot to anybody who shows up on YouTube. YouTube will just put it on your homepage and they get to see it. So there it is. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's get it.